All right, guys. Diablo 4's first holy class got leaked. I personally haven't seen much on it. Lamia has sent me a message telling me that this stuff was out, and I'm curious to get in and look at it and give my take on it. I'm actually not really surprised that some type of new class got leaked. I'm sure it's already in the pipeline, if not completely already developed. We've talked about it before, but typically when a game launches, its whole first year's worth of content is already locked up, and they're working on the next year's worth of content already. So I wouldn't be surprised if there are a couple more classes that might come out throughout the course of the first year, or might even be in sort of development for the second year, but are already sort of in the game or in the game files.
So I want to go over the high possibility that we have already had the first holy class leaked to us a few months ago, and that more recently we have also had this teased to us in the main quest of the beta. And there's a few different pieces to this puzzle, so you have to stick with me to get the whole picture. But starting off, we have the leak that happened months and months ago, where on Displate they released an image that was seemingly not supposed to be released yet, and some people on Reddit were able to screenshot this. And
that looks like an angel.
And essentially, this image shows all of the 5.
That's our rogue. This is, what's his name? The shapeshifter. And then I'm guessing, no, that's the Necro. So this must be the wizard, because there's the Necro with the scythe. So Necro, wizard, God, whatever the fuck, I can't even remember. Barb, rogue. Yeah.
Current playable classes for the
Why can I not remember that that's called a druid?
release of Diablo 4. We have the Necromancer on the left, the Sorceress above that, the Druid below that, the Barbarian to the right of that, and then up to the right we have the Rogue. All 5 of the playable classes, and these are all of the characters that are in the forefront of the image. But this leaked image, also in the middle, has what looks to be a holy-based class.
Yeah, I mean, it almost looks like an angel. You know, with like a Tyrael, or with like a sort of Uriel or whoever's style wings.
That is also,
because none of them are wearing cosmetics. It doesn't look like it's like cosmetic wings. It looks like they're actual wings.
one of the characters at the forefront of the image. Everything else besides all 6 of these different characters are in the background and are kind of nameless random enemies. And after this was posted to Reddit, it was taken down from Displate and has not been released since. So it seems like this image was never supposed to be revealed, because it seems to be showing off a future
Yeah, I mean, it's concept art too. That's another thing too. Try to remember, anytime you're looking at concept art is just that. It's a concept. It might be concepts that are going to be used or are not going to be used, or things are going to be used in the future. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. But it does look like it's pointing to some type of holy class, or maybe an angel.
class
I know, right? Oops.
to be released into Diablo 4. Now, I would not expect any future classes for Diablo 4 to be released into seasons. They'll probably all be released with future expansions. So that's where I'd expect this class to probably be released into.
And I will also agree that it was probably cut from the base, so they could put it into probably next year's expansion.
And this character that's shown,
And don't be surprised that things get cut from a base game and added to DLC later. It happens every day.
in this image, seems to be a holy base class, has a big spear and a shield. Now, something that's interesting with this image is that whatever this character is has a face and angel wings, or something similar to angel wings. And any other time you see angels in the Diablo franchise, if they have angel,
I think it's a pally. It's either a pally, or maybe it is an actual NPC. We don't know. Like right now, the assumption is that it's like a playable class, right? Maybe a pally or something, or a Valkyrie or something like that, Crusader. But there's also a very good chance that it's some sort of angel that helps your character, I'm assuming who's a Nephilim, through the main story that we have yet to meet in Act 1. There's nothing saying that that's impossible, right?
angel wings, they don't have a face. It's either just black under their hood or a more holy look under their hood.
That is true, though. That's a very true point. Like, most angels have no face, so the fact that the character has a face is very interesting.
The only time we actually see an angel with a face is Tyrael, but that's when he becomes immortal. And
yeah, that's after Tyrael fell, right? Like, Tyrael didn't get his face until after he ripped off his wings.
loses his wings, so we don't see them both on the same character. Now, my read of this could either be that they are furthering the lore and that this would be like the first character to be immortal with angel wings, or this is just a character using some ability that sprouts out these wings for a certain.
I mean, it wouldn't be that far of a stretch to assume that maybe some type of Nephilim character gets wings because you're part angel.
Period of time, but they're still just a mortal, just using some more holy energy that we haven't seen before. And
I mean, that's possible.
there's been a handful of opinions of what this class could be. It could be a Valkyrie that would be generally new for the franchise, or it could just be a different look to a Crusader or a Paladin. And I do think we...
And it could very well be any of that. It could be some sort of new character or some sort of new cross hybrid character. I think that it's definitely early to speculate, but it's definitely cool to see it.
may have a few more pieces of the puzzle when looking at some of the teases from the main campaign of Diablo 4 from the most recent beta. And we learned a very important piece of information from developers in 2019 in that the gates of heaven are closed.
Whoa, 2019. Keep that in mind. So we're looking at information that is 4 years old. A lot happens in the development cycle of a game in 4 years. Please keep that in mind.
For the events of Diablo 4.
Also, it's important to mention that, like, since the events of Diablo 3, like, heaven closed its gates, phones off the hook, they're not taking our calls, right? Like, nobody's answering. Haradrim are incommunicado,
we're kinda
so
screwed,
we're
yeah.
kind of on our own.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, not great.
So we don't have any contact with any entity in heaven. And this ties very heavily into my theory that the first expansion...
You just have to keep that in mind, right? I'm pretty sure we'll see Tyrael at some point in D4 too. See Lorath again. And even when Tyrael became mortal, he wasn't old. Yeah. He's too major a character not to make a comeback. I was actually really surprised that we didn't see Tyrael in the beta at all, Mayruko. I'm hopeful that we do see Tyrael because I do like Tyrael as a character. I like the sacrifice that Tyrael made. And didn't it kind of show him go back to heaven at the end of Diablo 3? Like, I'm pretty sure it showed him in heaven, like, assuming, like, the position of wisdom or something. What did he take? He took up a new mantle. I would have to go back through the cutscenes, or maybe I'm just wrong, but I'm pretty sure he went up and, like, assumed a different mantle in heaven. I could be wrong, though.
is going to be...
I'm not a huge lore buff. I will become a lore buff over the next, months and years that we play these games, but I think so. Eating and drinking, yeah, instead of eating all of his food at one point in time.
a holy base expansion where the gates of heaven open up and we get our first holy base class that also ties into the leaks showing off this whole...
So my wife is not a Diablo person at all. And I told her that I was playing it, and I had mentioned that Lilith was down, and we were dealing with Lilith. And she asked about Lucifer, and I told her, like, there's no Lucifer right now. I said it was mainly just the crown princes of hell, and she started naming all the crown princes of hell. I was like, yeah, so far it's just them. I was like, it seems like Lucifer and God are sort of like incommunicado. Like, they're just like, their hands are washed and they're just sitting back, like drinking scotch, just watching everything happen. So maybe at some point we'll get to see the big bad man himself. I don't know. I don't even know if that's part of the Diablo lore, but it was just something fun that we talked about.
Holy base class. And we have a bunch of additional information from the campaign that was shown off in the Diablo 4 beta. So I first wanted to look at the character called...
You guys let me know. Like, I'm not huge into the lore, but you guys can always let me know down in the comments. I'd be happy to learn from you guys and talk about it and get to know more about the Diablo sort of world lore.
Vigo, which is a holy knight that accompanies you in some of the main...
Dungeon Alchemist is an AI-powered map-making application that
quests of the campaign, and he has some abilities that are very similar to the Crusader from Diablo 3 and the Paladin from Diablo 2. He has this charge that ends with a shield bash that's pretty similar to Smite from Diablo 2, and even has a little bit...
One day Judge will get premium. Man, how much is premium? Maybe if I keep doing a lot of reaction content and reaction content sort of becomes a better thing, I'll pay for YouTube Premium.
Of shield bash thrown in.
I mean, I already pay for fucking Hulu and Netflix and everything else.
There from Diablo 3. But then he also has this wall of holy
Is it $10 a month? That's all it is. It's not bad.
energy that he puts up to stop projectiles to help protect his
I've seen that wall come up numerous times, and I was like trying to figure out who was doing it.
allies. And it's actually pretty common in game development for abilities or animations to be reused either from NPCs or from classes, whichever one of those gets created first.
I mean, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you reuse this stuff? Why would you make a whole list of stuff that you're going to put on an NPC for one period of leveling and then never reuse?
And this holy wall could very easily be an ability from a returning crusader or paladin.
Imagine a giant holy wall, though. That'd look cool as shit. Not sure it's always more expensive in Canada. Goddamn Canadians.
Or a new Valkyrie class. Any holy class in this wall is going to make sense. And it's also pretty common in live service games for content you're currently playing.
That sounds like it's a very Canadian thing to say, Meruko.
To have some teases into future
Except you misspelled it. There should be like an I in there somewhere.
content. I know
And some more O's.
Diablo has even done this in the past with some of their classes. And next up we have a quest that heavily ties into my theory of this first holy based expansion. So this quest takes you to meet the ghost of Rathma, which is the son of Anarius and Lilith. And while going through this quest, you get
I love you, Meruko.
to listen in to a bunch of
So it's $12. It's not bad.
previous conversations between Rathma and Anarius, and the overview of this being that Rathma holds the key to the gates of hell, and Anarius wants this key so he can enter hell and defeat the enemies of heaven in
Right, but that key was the key that Lilith picked up right at the end of Act 1.
hell, so he'll be welcome
Because Rathma had it, and then it looked like Anarius killed Rathma to take the key and didn't find it because Anarius thought it was on Rathma's body, but it wasn't. It was in the staff. And then Lilith came, broke the staff, and pulled the key out of it.
back into heaven. And at the end of this quest line, Lilith actually obtains the key to the gates of hell. So this story is obviously going to be
Anarius is big dumb. I mean, he looks like a gym bro.
taking us into hell.
Can we just name him, like, I don't know, Anarius Kyle or something? Anarius Chad?
And there's going to be, at some point, a
Chad Arius?
massive fight between Lilith and Anarius. And whether Anarius ends up defeating Lilith and defeating
Dude, Lilith, they did such a good job. I would love to talk to the character modeler that decided to do Lilith in the style they did and just shake their hand.
the enemies
It's such a good looking character.
of heaven, I think this is
To be fair though, like they didn't do a bad job with really any of the characters. Well, you can get the Anarius wings. Those are the wings that like that I wear and oh shit, hit my mic. Those are the wings that I wear and stuff like that. You can get those. It's part of just pre-ordering D4.
clearly pointing
Welcome on in, Striker.
to the gates of heaven opening up at some point in the future, which again just ties directly into my theory, the first expansion being holy based where the gates of heaven
After this, I'm gonna move my mic around and try to find a better way to not have it where I hit it all the time. One of the Necro sets is literally the Anarius set.
open up. And there's a few other pieces to this puzzle that you can see in the beta, such as some
Is it the gold one with the knives in the shoulders, or is it a different one? I can't remember which one it is.
other knights using fires of heaven, which is literally
Because I know like the Anarius wings and stuff are in the game.
just a skill from the Crusader from Diablo 3. So putting all these leaks and teases together, I think there is a very high probability that the first class is going to be holy based. It's either going to be that Valkyrie, a Crusader, or a Paladin. And I think there's a pretty good chance that the first expansion is going to be holy based. And something to even tack on top of that is that one of the main parts of new seasons are going to be additional main story quests. So
It's the white with gold trim. Yeah, it's the one with the knives in the shoulder then.
there's going to be new stories added in with every season, and my
Did he say there's going to be new stories added in with every season? If they do that, I will be so happy. Even if it's not a very big story, if they just do like a Destiny style thing where it's just like every season is just a little bit of story, a little bit of, even if it's just only there for the season and then gone, that'll be just sort of a nice way to build on the world and give you something to do.
expanded theory is that after the events of the Diablo 4 launch, the stories that are added in with every season are going to continue the main story and bring us into that expansion story of the gates of heaven opening up and us getting that holy class. And my hope for this first holy base class isn't that it's a Crusader or a Paladin, but that it's actually a Valkyrie, a new class that has not been playable in any of the other Diablo games, and something that is just completely new, can give us a potentially new playstyle, new abilities we've never seen before, new lore attached to it, and just a completely fresh player class.
I mean, I would like to see something new or something like a Valkyrie. You could lean into the wings for the Valkyrie to be able to fly. I mean, I think it'd be a cool sort of change of pace, but we'd have to see the skill set for sure.
Still has pieces that people wanted from a Paladin or a Crusader, and that's not even where the
And it would let you sort of take the things that were good on Pally or Crusader and put those things together and get rid of the things that maybe weren't very good or allow you to rework them.
Teases end because recently Blizzard released a live action video called Cathedral of Diablo, and they essentially got these artists to make these massive art pieces depicting different parts of Diablo 4. Then they took all these different art pieces and hung them up in this cathedral, showing off and advertising the game. And this art in this cathedral is a very similar art style to the leaked image, potentially showing off that first holy class for the game. And even past that, it does seem like they are also teasing in this art itself that there may be a holy base class in the game at some point. It is pretty hard to spot, but it does seem like with all of these different leaks and teases that they are trying to point us in a similar direction. A leaked holy class, a story that seems to be pointed at Inarius trying to get back into heaven, and then a seasonal roadmap that can continue the story into an expansion where the gates of heaven open up and we get that long-awaited holy class.
So, I don't know. You guys got to let me know what you think. There's definitely a lot of things pointing towards a holy class being probably the first class that's going to come in. I was actually hoping that it was going to be more of an actual leak with like some gameplay or some like actual images or depictions. There were definitely a lot of inferences made here, and inferences, while good, especially if they're educated, are still just an inference. But you guys got to let me know what you think. Let me know down in the comments what you think, what you're excited for, and what sort of class you're hoping for with the first major expansion of Diablo 4. And as always, have a great day.